Welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast. Victoria Taft is your host, as I've been a host for many, many years. And welcome. I see that a couple of people are already in the chat. By all means, get in the chat, ask some questions. I've got a terrific guest this afternoon. And of course, you can always like and get your notifications. And let's see, share the Adult in the Room podcast live stream with your close friends and associates. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to talk with Amy Reichert. She is a person who is with Restore San Diego. We're going to talk to her in just a moment. Now you say, well, Victoria, what's that all about? I mean, the big news is in Minnesota. Oh yeah, but I got news for you. The bigger news is going to be, and has been, in California. And so I want you to keep that in mind as we play the sort of start of it all. And here's what I mean. The original Nick Shirley soundbite, where he and David Hawk are talking about Minnesota child cares and how they appear to be ghost towns.
This daycare center was shut down when it was called Creative Minds Daycare, and it had received $2.45 million this fiscal year 2025. They had to shut down because there were so many violations, and they went and they just reopened under a new license, and they renamed the center Super Kids Daycare Center LLC.
So they got shut down, then started another one.
Literally the next day.
Creative Minds Daycare, $2.45 million got sent to this daycare center. We have empty parking lot. We do have a bus here. This is different. We'll see if we see anybody.
I knocked on the door. Absolutely nobody was inside. And once again, no children could be heard anywhere.
So David, once again, another child daycare center. We have a bus out here. No one's inside. Licensed for over 50 kids. No children anywhere. But yet, millions of dollars every single year.
So the sign says Creative Minds Daycare. They got in so much trouble, they had so many violations that they had to shut down, and they reopened the next day under Super Kids Daycare Center. You see 3801 Portland, 3801 Portland, which is where we are.
So that's fraud right there alone.
Well, we'll find out. Probably is, because everything else that they found out, Nick Shirley and as well as David Hawk found out, was, well, fraudulent. In all likelihood. It looks hinky. How about that? It looks very hinky. And so this is something we ought to, keep a watch on. Now, on the West Coast, which I keep track of, I keep a track of what's going on in California and in Oregon and in Washington. In Washington state currently, there is an overt effort to withdraw any ability to look at these Somali and or anyone else's daycare records to determine where they are so that they can be visited by these guys. So, and indeed, they're going to pass, or they're talking about passing a law, and the law would say something like, oh, I know, let's make it impossible for the news media to drill down on any of this information. That is amazing. That is just stunning, actually. But that's what they're willing to do. They're willing to hide the information. And so it is in California. Same kind of deal. And before we bring on Amy Reichert, I just want, in fact, I should say hello to her so we can watch this together. Amy Reichert, Restore San Diego. San Diego is one of my favorite towns. I lived there for many years. And thank you for coming on the Adult in the Room podcast. How are you?
Great to be here.
I've seen you recently. We follow each other on X, but I've seen you recently making the rounds on the news, the big time news media. I've seen you on Fox at least a couple of times recently, and we'll play some of those as we go along. But one of the things I wanted to watch with you, just because I think you'll get the biggest kick out of it, is this. It is the parody of Gavin Newsom's State of the State Address. And that's just part
Governor
of it.
Gavin Newsom here
It's
to
AI,
deliver my
folks.
last State of the State Address. I've skipped the last 4 of these speeches because, well, as you all know, California has been a complete shit show disaster. But since I am running for president, I desperately need the attention. I could tell you all the bad things. Like California has the highest cost of living of any state, and I've had the worst inflation rate of any governor since taking office. Or we have the worst schools, most homeless, worst roads, and worst job market, with an unemployment rate 22% higher than national. But we shouldn't dwell on such trivial things. I want you to appreciate all the things I do well. I'm sick of hearing about fraud in Minnesota. If you thought the fraud there was bad, I have just one thing to say. Bitch, hold my beer. No one does fraud, and no one can waste money faster than me.
Oh my gosh. We can thank Carl DeMaio for putting that one out there. Your San Diego based friend, is I'm sure you guys are thick as thieves out there. Well, Amy, thanks so much for coming on and tell me a little bit about what you have found in California with respect to these daycare centers.
So they keep saying that Minnesota is just the tip of the iceberg, but let me just tell you, a tsunami is coming for California.
Oh yeah, I
so
believe it.
This is not a right-wing conspiracy theory. That's how they're trying to play Nick Shirley, right? The thing is, right here in San Diego, there was a president of a UMI learning center, and it was a Somalian man, actually, and his co-defendants, and they defrauded the government of $3.7 million in government subsidies for childcare, saying that 150 kids were at the UMI Learning Center when they weren't.
How many? How many?
150.
Okay, just checking. I'm sorry.
Yes. And by the way, the parents were getting a kickback too of $200 a month. So now that we've established that this is not a right-wing conspiracy theory, I was completely inspired by what Nick was doing in Minnesota. I'm a licensed private investigator in the state of California, so I decided to start digging through public records as well. And what I was finding from the state licensing, from their own inspector, and it was like bam, 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 Victoria. It was like 3 in a row on a Sunday. I was able to find childcares with 28 enrolled. And what was happening was the state inspectors were showing up in the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, during normal business hours, and there were 0 kids there. And it wasn't just one. Then 1 became 3, and then 3 became 12, and then 12 became 25, all in the matter of 48 hours. And this story just blew up nationally.
Wow. So what do you think's going on? I have to ask the basics because if I don't, then maybe I won't get an answer.
I have to be a responsible investigator and just say, you know what, this is just the beginning, right? So showing that there's no kids there, but we also need to tie it to the money. And it's difficult in California. It isn't public information like it is in Minnesota. Gavin Newsom hides the money through his political allies and friends in the non-government organization nonprofits. So, for example, federal and state money come to the local level to a nonprofit in San Diego. It's the YMCA of San Diego, Child Development Associates, and then they pay these child care programs for students that are enrolled. And no money ever goes to the parents unless there's like a kickback, like I found in the federal case. And I did reach out to both of those NGOs to ask, hey, you're practically 100% taxpayer-funded Child Care Development Associates. Can I please get access as a member of the public? And both of them told me to basically go pound sand. So now the investigators have come in first. Now it's time for the attorneys.
Okay, so you have some attorneys who are willing to make their political fathers and mothers upset because this stands to upset a lot of people. Obviously, there's a pecking order. Where do you think this goes?
I think it really runs deep, even to the unions. So just a couple years ago.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Just a couple years ago, not childcare workers, but people who own these small and large family daycare centers, they've been unionized now.
Yeah.
Okay. So what happens
SEIU.
is SEIU and the Service Employees International Union, exactly. They are a big powerhouse. And let me just say, SEIU can drop at least a couple million behind a candidate that's running even for a county position. That's how powerful they are.
Yeah.
So what they do is they get this money. And it's been all well established in the past year through Doge, how the whole NGO reelect the politician cycle goes. And it's sadly, that's how we're going to be able to defeat Gavin Newsom, by exposing what this money is flowing through and to, and how it's coming back to the puppets in Sacramento.
Well, it sounds like a money laundering operation. Here's what you were talking to Jesse Waters about the other day. Let's listen to a little bit of this.
California, the mother of all fraud is Gavin Newsom. He's responsible for it all. So all eyes are on California after what's been exposed with the daycares in Minnesota. I'm a licensed private investigator in California. I started looking into state records and I found ghost daycares. These are places where the state inspectors showed up. There would be 28 kids enrolled and there were no kids there in the middle of the day and in the middle of the week.
All right. So a ghost daycare. Is that something Gavin Newsom could say, all right, we'll try to shut that down? Does he cooperate when you start raising this?
No. In fact, today it got word from the governor's office. There's been a directive to actually shut down public access. So right now you can't even search the own state website to look into these ghost daycares, but I have found a workaround.
And then he talks about, so you found a workaround. I don't want you to tell me either, but I do want to know what you're finding out and how you went about sort of circumventing that.
Right. So I actually got word before it happened from an attorney who said, hey, just so you know, Amy, there's a directive from the governor's office and they're going to start disabling fields. So, for example, I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but if you're even a parent and you just want to look up a small daycare, just to see if you want to put your kid there and review some of the reports, they've disabled fields like city, county. You have to have an exact name now to search. Some of these names are not easy. It's like multiple exotic names, right? And you have to get it exactly right. And if you don't have the exact name of the multi-name daycare center, then you won't be able to find out what you need to find out. So that's what happened. The governor's office did deny it, but I do have from engineers showing how the API could be tampered with. And I have screenshots of that, and I've released that to the press. But it's really sad what they resorted to. Instead of addressing what I did find, and I substantiated in the reports, which was inspectors showed up when there's 28 kids there and there's 0 there, he decided to call me Donald Trump's stooge and said I went ghost hunting and found nothing. That was on his X, the governor's press office account run by Brandon and Izzy. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Those two.
Was it in all caps?
Yeah, he wants to be Donald Trump so bad on X. Man. Yeah, they're paid to the Izzy and Brandon. They work for the state of California in the governor's office, and they are basically paid trolls. The taxpayers are paying for trolls.
I'm old enough to remember that when I was doing a talk show in Portland, where the Multnomah County folks decided to hire a tweeter, and we just howled. I mean, just howled. And that person was hired, and that person did tweet for the county. But the thing is that as a person who needs that kind of help right now, I can well understand why somebody would want to do it, but it was just like, whoa, it's just ridiculous. And he's got 2, and they reside in the office of governor in Sacramento. Okay, so let's take it to the natural end. What we see here, in the way that we've seen it happen in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, what we've seen is that they give this money to these people. The state takes federal funds and grants the money to these daycares. The daycare,
nonprofits.
to the nonprofits, which are either an over group of the daycares or the daycares themselves, right?
They're basically responsible for processing the payment. So let me give you, for example, one of them that I mentioned, Child Development Associates. When Biden first became president, they had a budget of about $100 million. By the time Biden left, their budget had doubled. So we're talking about 220. That's just in San Diego County. And their job is basically just to be the contractor with the state to process the money to make sure that these daycares get paid.
So what do the county supervisors say? What does your illustrious mayor, who is completely blown up the budget in San Diego? You've got two real big entities. I mean, are they coming to your aid?
So we're under one party rule here.
You know what? You can thank Kevin Faulkner for that. And here's why. He's the last Republican mayor of that town. And he went all in on all the climate crapola, the streets and all that stuff. And when he gave way, he brought in all of those NGOs. And tell me if I'm wrong, because I don't think I'm wrong. I was living there at the time going, what? I mean, having just seen what happened in Portland and watching that whole charade, I said, oh, crap, this is bad. This is really bad. I love Kevin. Don't get me wrong, Kevin. But you just biffed it, man. You totally biffed it.
The whole key here to busting this wide open and finally breaking free of one party rule here is to expose fraud in these non-government organizations and to defund them, right? Once you are able to do that, you are able to expose the money laundering and cut off the money supply to these politicians that they keep putting back in office that are destroying California.
Well, they don't think it's destroying California. They think it's just getting them reelected.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the NGOs give the money to their favorite people who then in turn give that money to their favorite politicians who, by the way, are almost exclusively, if not exclusively, Democrat.
They only work with their political friends and allies. That there's total favoritism. Good luck if you are a conservative here in California. You have a legitimate nonprofit and you want to contract with the state. You're not going to get a contract with the state.
Yeah.
And then you look at the homeless industrial complex. We have something called Housing First. It prohibits homeless funds being used for mental health treatment and drug addiction or alcohol treatment. And so guess who runs all of those nonprofits for treatment? Conservative Christians.
Right.
So
I believe that.
All these wacky far left NGOs that are getting all of the money, and that's going to be the next thing that I'm talking about right now on my X is the homeless industrial complex.
Well, and good, because I'll amplify that. The Union Gospel Mission, I'm trying to think, does the Union Gospel Mission in San Diego? I can't remember, but it's in Seattle and Portland, and they're the only guys making inroads into the homeless / addiction issues, because they actually require people to go to classes. And in 2016, when I was living in California and I was helping out with the homeless, we found out that the state of California, this is before Gavin went into office, he went in 2019, but he still had a large voice, and they were doing the Housing First BS in San Francisco. And what they did was they completely switched. And they said, no more do these addicted, quote unquote, homeless people have to go to any classes. Right. You don't have to look for a job. They don't have to do anything to better their lot in life. And it has been an abject failure ever since.
You're so right. In fact, it was this whole rhetoric started with you're criminalizing the homeless, and that's mean to put them into treatment. And so there became this all these settlements from the opiate cases, and hundreds of millions of dollars were flowing into counties. Did they use it for treatment? No, they did not. They used it for harm reduction. I kid you not, I can give you the screenshot from the county. They were giving them for safe smoking devices, crack pipes,
Yep.
crack pipes. We're not even talking about needles, crack pipes. So I actually
Crack
had a
pipes,
nickname.
foil, everything. They give them a spot, safe shoot up areas, clean needles, and all that jazz. And it's like, oh, let's just enable addicts. That makes a huge amount of sense. Not.
I call it housing last because harm reduction is actually killing people.
You know,
They're
you
actually taxpayer funded weapons of destruction.
and then San Francisco found out and is switching around stuff. But San Francisco was the first to do the housing first model that doesn't work. And what they found was that when you put people into an apartment, they give them a spot to go die there instead of on the street.
Housing last.
Doesn't help anybody, does it? Doesn't actually help a life, does it? It's outrageous. It's outrageous. I guess that's one of the reasons why you amplified this today. I want to make sure I get this soundbite. Let me just see if I can find it. It had something to do with this issue, and I wanted you to explain it to me.
It's
Let's
juicy.
see. Crap, where is it? Well, you know what? I've somehow I guess I didn't get it. Talk to me about this housing, homeless soundbite that you amplified today. I'll show it, but we won't be able to listen to it. So go ahead and talk to me about that if you wouldn't mind.
I love whistleblowers. I just light up when people send me a private message and they're giving me screenshots and video and audio of some of these meetings that these far left NGO people have. And by the way, they tell me like what life is like working at one of these NGOs as a conservative. It's pretty horrible. It's constantly anti-Donald Trump, anti-ICE rhetoric.
Of course.
So I was able to get some information and post it on my X, and it's Bay Area Community Services is the NGO, and it's up in Sacramento, even though that's the name. And basically what they do is they provide housing for people. Now, these are allegations, but the whistleblower contends that what's happening is American citizens are being deprioritized. And what's happening is people who are not here legally are being prioritized for things like Uber vouchers, motel vouchers, transportation vouchers. I have audio of meetings where the CEO is actively discussing how the staff can help its clients who are not legal relocate to another community if they need to step out of their community with these vouchers for Uber, transportation, or motel. So basically, again, this is a housing nonprofit. And also I looked up how much it receives in taxpayer money. It's over 100 million. So again, these are allegations, but long story short, our taxpayer money is basically going to an NGO who is preoccupied with ICE.
Wow. Well, I didn't quite get it when I saw this. I thought, oh, they're giving people basically, cab rides, Uber rides, etc., to somewhere else. And I don't know why, but now I get it. Okay, so they're illegal aliens and they're getting them heck out to give them. Oh, we're insane. Oh, listen to us. Silva Sun says we're insane. You two are insane. Okay. Like a couple of foxes, baby. Okay. Thank you, Silva, for making our point for us. Okay. Wow. So they're using California federal funds to help illegal aliens escape. Is that right? Oh, you can't hear me? Okay, hold on. Oh, well, let's find out if I'm still on. This thing on? Interesting. I can hear. Say something. Let's see. I don't know what to do. Hold on here. Okay. Stand by. Amy is there, but she can't hear me. So, Amy, if you can hear me now, I can hear you. And this person just told us we're insane because we think that people shouldn't steal money from the government, but I guess we're the crazy ones. Let's find out. Let's see what's going on. Can you hear me now, Amy? Nope, can't hear me. I wonder what's going on. Hey, Alex, Cullen and Audible. Do you think that, is there any reason why, I'm going to just take this off. Maybe that has something to do with it. Let's see. Hey, Alex, I don't know if, yeah. What do you think? I can't hear Amy anymore and she can't hear me anymore. I wonder if are we even on, you guys? Yeah, we are. That this Silva's son person said we were insane. So let me see. Amy. You are here. Huh. Hold on, Amy. Of course. Sometimes I just go like, really? This is going to be great. This is going to be fantastic. Trump is killing women. Yes, of course. Where's Emily's list? Where are the preachers? Well, you've got a bunch of leftists out there who have decided that here's the other thing before we connect back with Amy. Hey, Alex, I hope you can hear me. We're trying to connect with Amy again. Hey, Alex, can you do something and work some magic or something with Amy? I don't know what the deal is. She can't hear me.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, we're going to try and get Amy to reconnect here.
Okay. Does she know that?
Working on telling her.
Okay. All right. I'm leaving it to him. Okay. Well, until we get her back, let us do this. And here is, let's see, Amy talking about, well, let me do this. Here's the next shoe to drop in Minnesota. And let me just make sure I can show you this story because I saw this over the weekend. I go, holy crow, this is going to be another one, another Nick Shirley piece, but he hasn't dropped the video yet. So this is kind of interesting that he hasn't done it yet. I think it's because he was, I think he was sort of, his David Hawk, his partner, he kind of jumped the gun on it a little bit, but he did it because he wanted to make sure that people knew. And so I wrote a piece over at PJ Media. New Nick Shirley video shows grift that is 10 times worse and will start World War III, says the guy who is the person who helped out Nick Shirley. And here's the deal. Here's what I saw over the weekend. They are here. That's their old video about the daycares. The new one is about these organizations that use a bus service and how there is fraud from top to bottom, at least the allegation of fraud from top to bottom. And here's what I want you to see. Excuse me, still got the cold going. So I apologize. Here's Nick.
This section of the grocery store, there are 6 separate stores. How's life here as a Somalian?
Life is good. I do phone bills, sending money to Africa. That's where I do. The business is good.
And how have you seen the rise of Somalians and the rise of Islam here inside of Minnesota?
As well, the rise is good and we have a place to pray. and life is good.
How long have you lived here in America for?
For 10 years now.
And when you came here, did the government bring you here, or did you come here by your own choice?
I came here by my own choice. I was one of the refugees from Uganda. I was brought by UN.
You were brought by the UN to come into the United States?
Yes, and life is good, you know. We try to enter into businesses.
Ah, well, we try to enter into businesses. Well, the business is this. There's, you just say, oh, that's nice. That's a nice interview with a man who's a business owner. That's fantastic. Okay. And here's the problem with what is going on in that environment. Okay. There's something more. And over the weekend, his partner. Oh, no. See that guy? Yeah, that was on the streets of Portland over the weekend. Stand by for that. Here we go with the discussion with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
When a child care facility receives federal funds, they must abide by Civil Rights Act of 1964, Title VI, which says that you cannot be exclusive to one ethnic group in your child care facility. It's discrimination. So when DHS goes out and does these inspections, they always do them announced. So they call ahead to let them know they're coming. So of course, you stockpile the kids in there and everything looks great. But do they actually count the number of kids that are there? Because some of these facilities are licensed for 120 kids and they don't have any kids. And even if they do load kids in, they got 10 of them. But DHS doesn't go with 10 kids. Wait a minute, you're licensed for 120. What's going on here? They have no sign-in or sign-out sheet like a normal daycare is, so there's no way to track if there are any kids there, who they are, what race they are, any of that.
Okay, so what his point is that he's just going over what they did before, and it's interesting because, Nick Shirley was going under the, auspices, the excuse, if you will. Hey, I'm trying to get my kids signed up for this daycare center. And he's obviously white. I don't know what color his kid would be. But the thing is that under the 14th Amendment and under, the no discrimination and the Civil Rights Act and all that stuff, you can't discriminate. So that's another angle that David Hawk is suggesting they look into at the at the federal level. But now wait a minute. So here's something else that is going on. I want to make sure I get this. Crap. Stand by. Watch this. That's your point! Oh, it's Miss... that's what's going on. It's Miss... Interesting. Sorry, guys. Don't worry.
This section of the grocery store, there are 6 separate stores. How's life here?
Okay, so here's the point of this. You've already seen this, but the point is that this place where there are 6 separate stores in this one building, I mean, it kind of smacks of Marrakesh or something. Not that I've ever been there, but I just feel like it's probably an open deal. Open market, that kind of thing. I love open markets. I like outdoor markets. It's all good. This is indoors because it's Minneapolis. But the point is that there are so many things that are in there. And one of the things that they claim to be is a bus company. And these are transportation companies wherein the people who have the contract say that they bus people around for medical appointments and stuff. And there are no buses at this company that says it's a bus company. And that's what he says. David Hawk says, hey man, this is not good. This is a problem. And here's what he said.
Second video that's coming out Monday that is 10 times worse than the original video. It's going to be pretty shocking and it's pretty graphic. So what I have here is a 5-year recap of all of the CCAP money, that's child care assistance payments, for the last 5 years. The top 102 recipients of that 84 of them are Somali owned. You know how many children I've seen at those child care centers over the last 7 years? 0, not one. There's another pile of money, and it's called Great Start. And that money is given to the facility to train their staff. Well, if you don't have any kids, you don't need any staff. Then, what I believe is the core of all this, is this non-emergency medical transportation. So, a search showed that Minnesota recognizes 1,020 NEMT companies. Almost 900 of them are Somali owned. So in the second video, Nick Shirley and I went to 16 of them. I've actually been to about 70 of them.
Listen to this.
They don't exist.
They don't exist. Now, somebody commented, it's very common. Here, let me just get this thing off first. It's very common that transportation companies have private addresses without storefronts. I see no issue with that whatsoever. Well, what kind of transportations? Are the transportation companies that get government contracts? Because I know I've seen plenty of limo drivers and, short bus drivers who just bus around people for private events and stuff like that. I've used them before, and they park at their own houses or what have you, and totally understandable. But those aren't government. Those aren't people with government contracts, are they? So I don't think this is normal. I'm willing to be wrong. But I don't think I am. And this other person writes, and they need translators too. Well, that's right. So here's what he's talking about this. In the previous comment, David Hawk said to Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, well, okay, so they've got this additional training for the staff. And he goes, well, wait a minute, there are no kids. Henceforth, there's no staff. Therefore, there's no need for training, but somebody's getting paid for that. Okay? And so what this person, Frank says, and they need translators too. And I've seen this in my own personal life. Well, I have people, I have friends who need translation when they go to the doctor and that sort of thing. And these people are as good as gold. I mean, God bless them for doing that. This is awesome. However, I can see where since there is no company, it doesn't exist, and there are no vans by which to transport people, which is what they claim their business is to be, I could imagine that there's probably, just call me crazy, there's probably a line of succession of people getting paid for other things as well. Check it out. Let's say, I have to go to a doctor's appointment, and there's an imaginary person who goes to an imaginary doctor's appointment for whom there needs to be a translator who makes a minimum 8 hours of pay for the gig. So you've got the bus ride that is probably an 8-hour minimum. I know when I hired private transportation, when I've had, receptions and stuff. Not that we do a lot of that, but hey, I've had, it's a minimum 8 hours, obviously. And sometimes it's 10. Okay. So you've got the translator, you've got the bus dude, the driver who, by the way, doesn't exist. I mean, these people, somebody's getting paid, but that money is being charged back to the state for that facility. So you have just trebled your costs because you've got these guys, everybody's making bank. Everybody's got their wetting their beak on this thing, right? And some of these places, and this is really this is the sad part. There might be some legit organizations in this, but they're not looking real good right now. And you know what looks even worse? Like Amy said, California has just come under an order by Gavin Newsom to stop allowing people to see the information, all of the information that previously heretofore had been available for the people who are looking up where the scammy daycare centers are. And now we've got this other kind of, and this is what David Hawk said. He says, This is 10 times worse than the daycare center thing. This is 10 times worse. And he says there will be a World War III that it will come as a result of this. I mean, right now, what are they doing? What are they doing in Minnesota? They're shooting at people. What do I mean by that? Well, the ICE officer shot that lady, but after she aimed her car. And by the way, it looks as if, according to the New York Times, that the officer's not going to be brought up on charges because it was a justifiable shoot. It was. I mean, when you're getting attacked, hello. You know, this reminded me of something the other day. Do you guys remember this? It's an old movie. And just hang on a second. Do you remember this? I hope you can hear it. I rather doubt it, but you never know. Stand by. Okay, that looks terrible. That lady that looks like it's terrible in there. But it's a funny scene.
You're not so tough without your car, are ya?
I don't know if you were able to hear that, but you're not so tough without your car, are ya? Says the detective in Kindergarten Cop. And Kindergarten Cop came out in 1990. I looked it up yesterday and went, man, I'm old. What can I tell you? Here we go. Hey, I'm just saying, it doesn't seem like a business requirement to have a storefront for a medical transport company. I understand that. That sounds more reasonable. Okay, I understand that. But when you give the physical address, Chad, and it doesn't comport with a company that's doing anything and there are none of the vans available, I think that perhaps we might be seeing something going on there. So let's see, medical transport got an irrelevant point for fraud investigations. Fraud could still be happening. Well, I don't know if it's I think people need to remember that not everything's a scam. Okay. And what I'm seeing, like, for example, like Nick Shirley said on his previous video I shared with you, and he said, well, that's a scam, isn't it? And I'm like, I don't think so. There's nothing that is dispositive about that particular point, that little fact that says it's a scam. No, not really. I mean, and I can't remember what the deal was, but it just, it wasn't that big of a deal. Let's see, Cameron writes, Democrats don't care about the American people. They only care about themselves. None of them well, that's true. None of them cared about Irina Zarutska. Yeah, well, they didn't. And she was the one who was knifed on the light rail in Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Frank writes, try to file for your benefits and see what a fight you have to go through to get anything. And these guys are just getting bank. That's such a good point. Chad writes back and says, as an example, many companies list a fictitious Delaware address due to their corporate tax codes. No, totally understand that. You can have a DBA. That's not a problem. I don't think that's the issue here. I think the issue here is not that there's a fake fictitious name. It is the fact that there appears to be in a, for example, child care center, when you have no children in any of the child care centers, which is what happened in Minnesota, that this is an issue and connotes something funny afoot there. Oh, here's Jeff. Jeff? Yeah. Oh, you're so full of bleep. These bleeping morons came on here and spew BS like accusations with no fact. No, I you know what? You say it in a kind of a naughty way, buddy. But no, I understand that. And yet, there is some truth to what they're saying. Okay. I get it in some respects. I understand what you're saying. I wanted to be fair. I saw Nick's first video and I go, well, okay. Until then I watched the whole 42-minute video and I went, okay, there's a lot here. And it may not mean that everything is a scam. It means, however, that there's a lot of scam out there. And it appears to go in only one direction. Have you noticed that? For example, I always like to give examples. Let's talk about what's going on here. How is it that the only scams we can find have to do with one particular group, a political group, very political in Minneapolis? You cannot win office without the Somali community. And in fact, remember that mayor, the guy who was Somali who wanted to run for mayor against Jacob Fry? You know why he didn't win? It's not because he was Somali. It was because he belonged to a different tribe than Ilhan Omar and all those guys. And even though she went to bat for him, hey, dude, we got to get a Somali dude in here. He didn't win. And that tells you a lot, doesn't it? I think it does. Let's see. Cameron writes, what was disturbing for me was the fact that CNN tried to debunk Nick Shirley instead of investigating it themselves. Yes, I know. And yes, by all means, kill the messenger. Oh, he's just a young kid. I saw him on the All In podcast. And great podcast, by the way. We'll have a little excerpt from it in just a moment, but it's worth your time. Absolutely worth your time. The interview with Nick Shirley showed me a lot, though. I thought, I can't believe they're having him on this podcast because these are pretty serious people. And he doesn't occur to me to be that serious, but he acquitted himself very well in that podcast to talk about why he does what he's done. He's a kid who's been doing this for years, since he was 16, this kind of journalism, this kind of reporting, a YouTuber and that sort of thing. And he is also riding on the shoulders of David Hawk, who's been on this story for 7 years. He's also riding on the shoulders of Powerline blog. And if it was David Hawk writing for Powerline all those years ago, great, fine, whatever. Powerline blogs have been on this story for longer than that. So it took forever to get any legs. And the reason I give Nick Shirley all the credit in the world for having blown this bad boy up, that's why, I don't know if you know this. Sure, they don't like ICE, but things really got hot after the Shirley video. And there's a reason for that. It's because they are trying to distract you from what the real issue is, which I find disconcerting, but there you go. Let's see. Here we have lots of comments today, which I'm very happy about. Here's Chad again. I'm not 100% sold on that there are no kids. Either way, well, there weren't any kids. This guy's been, David Hawk, that dude's Hawk, not that other dope. That dude's been on this. He's visited, for example, on the transportation company. He says what is going to be 10 times worse than the daycare thing. He's been to 70 of those companies, and they don't exist. They exist only on paper, according to him. I think he knows whereof he speaks. I think he does. I'm not 100% sold on the fact that there are no kids. Either way, excuse me, I'm losing my voice because I've been sick for 2 weeks. It's been great. Either way, at the end of the day, everyone agrees that there should be oversight on the tax dollars spent. Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's another one. How come Ilhan Omar can go from 3 million to 30 million a year, 3 million to 30 million? I'd love to have 3 million a year. That'd be awesome. And let's see, people just want to debate. They don't want to have a conversation. That's maddening. I understand that. And it's true. That is true. For example, a conversation that should be had is, why are they lying? And I'm telling you, Democrats in Minneapolis are lying with purposeful resolve to tell you untrue things about the shooting of Renee Good. Why are they lying? Why is Keith Ellison saying this is a bad shoot? Why is that dopey Philadelphia sheriff who's a jailer talking about this? Why is that? Nobody should be listening to her because she's an idiot. She is an idiot. And the only guy that I've seen recently speak the truth is a soundbite from last June. And I wrote a story about it. And it's the police chief of Chicago. This guy is no friend to ICE, okay? He is no friend to ICE, but the guy's speaking the truth. First of all, whenever somebody tells you that the ICE, the feds, the HSI, the Border Patrol people aren't cops, they are lying to you. When they say that they cannot enforce local laws, true enough, unless they're being attacked by someone else. And they have every right to believe that if you are barricading around them, that this is an ambush, and they have every reasonable way to believe that you are going to hurt them. That is a reasonable assumption by virtue of your act. And he said this after the ICE agents got smacked up by a bunch of people in the Chicago area. And he said, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get hurt. You can't do that to an ICE agent. They have every right to shoot back. Oh, yes, they do. They have no other way to assume that you have what your intentions are until they see you surrounding them and they think it's an ambush. And if they think it's an ambush and if they think their lives are at stake, they will clear a path to get out. Oh, yes, they will. Oh, yes, they will. So when somebody, back to our friend's point here, Frank, when he talks about nobody wants to talk about anything, it's because people are so stinking, they're lying. I mean, how do you not know that? How do you not know that attacking an ICE agent isn't going to get you hurt? They're just lucky more people haven't been hurt. Now, let's see. Cameron writes in, he goes, I've watched a few of his videos and him getting death threats, him and his mom. It's so sad. Well, absolutely. Of course. I mean, he's got to watch out. There were people with signs and on social media after that ICE shooting talking about Charlie Kirk and a woman who should know better, who is a tangential, she's like a staffer, if not budding professor at the University of Washington, my alma mater, by the way, who said that they're going to go after him like like the guy who tried to take out Trump. They want more of that guy. What's his name? Robinson? What's his kisser? Anyway, whatever. Well, so when they invoke the idea of murder, assassination in reaction to this justifiable shoot, there's something crazy going on here. And it's not just simply crazy. It is by design. Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota, knows better than that. He knows better. He knows ICE agents have every right to defend themselves. He knows that. And he still lies about it. Jacob Fry, that loser, that guy who knelt to BLM after George Floyd. And by the way, George Floyd died of a drug overdose. Not because Derek Chauvin put his knee on his neck, because he didn't. Go back and I watched every minute of that trial. Every minute. I saw the evidence of that trial. You go back and you watch that and you tell me if Derek Chauvin didn't get railroaded. And I'm not, you have to know something about me. I'm a civil libertarian. And I'm a guy I'm like one of those people that I don't have to talk to cops, right? You don't have to talk to cops. You're not required to talk. In fact, if you talk to cops, you're liable to have those words used against you, even though you think you're being totally reasonable. No. So I'm telling you right now, I'm that guy. That was a railroad. That's what that was. According to him, is key there. If that is the case, then charge them. The remedy is certainly not to cut off all funds for everyone. I think that's why Trump is doing that, cutting off funds for everyone until they can sort it out and figure out who's real and who's not. I think that is taking a meat cleaver to what needs to be used by a scalpel. But Minnesota has shown themselves completely unwilling to take a scalpel to their own spending, as well as coming and doling out the federal funds that they're required to do. You know, all the federal funds go through the state and counties. That's what happens. And these guys are just like, you know, make it rain, make it rain, make it rain. And they're giving it to their favorite groups of people. Why is it that 90% of the companies are Somali and they're giving all this money to them when there is no food for the future? There's nothing. People went to prison for that. And then Jacob Fry's wife was somehow tangentially, perhaps even legally, involved in that. Yeah. There's something funky going on here. It's not going to be what you want, though. It's not everybody's going to go to jail. Here's something else. I want to tell you something else. You need to hear me. You need to hear me right now. And it's this. When people say, I've seen this, Steve Bannon says this all the time and all this other, and I, admire everything about a lot of these people, believe me. But you cannot say, I want them to arrest them right now, because you're not going to believe this. This just in. You need evidence. And just because you see something in the media does not make it evidence that is able to go into a court case. They still have to chase down all the leads. Okay? So, lock her up. Well, okay. I mean, there's plenty there to lock up Hillary, as they used to say in 2016. And so, fine, but you better get a case together. Trump let her off. Anyway, I'm getting way over my skis on this thing. Now, what else do I have one more soundbite I wanted to make sure I got to you guys. I think this is it.
Second video that's coming out Monday.
Oh, I already did that one. Sorry, guys. I don't want to waste your time. There was one more. There's so much misinformation and so many lies going on. For example, here's what's going on in Portland. They are entertaining the bread and circus again. And I'll see if maybe Honey Badger Mom's taking a look at it. It's just absurd. Where, ICE is doing terrible things. They're breaking the Constitution. No, they're not. Stop it. Shut up. Stop talking and not reveal how stupid you really are. Well, they're doing something unconstitutional. No, they're not. They're going out and they're finding people. Do I have this? I hope I have this image file that I want. Oh, yeah, here we go. There are a lot of bad dudes out there. For example, all those people, all those ICE ladies, the ICE watch ladies barricading in the ICE officers and the Border Patrol people. This is who they were protecting. See these guys? Rapists, murderers, child molesters, all of them. These are the people they were standing up for. By the way, it is not unconstitutional to go and pick these dudes up. It is not. It's not. It's enforcing the law. Just because Minnesota's a sanctuary state and Minneapolis is a sanctuary city does not mean that the federal government cannot go in and enforce federal law. Tell your friends. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Let's see. Victoria, justify the last two shots where he was clearly parallel with the vehicle. Shot. Oh, yeah, no. That was the last two shots. What about him? That first one was probably the kill shot. Victoria, justify the last two shots where he's clearly parallel with the vehicle. Shots through the driver's window. You must justify every single shot or it's indeed about. No, I don't think so. I mean, you want to know, you have to justify every shot. Don't get me wrong. I know that. And I appreciate that. But she was still coming after him. You cannot have one guy saying, get out of the car. And then what does she do? She punched it, dude. She punched it. And then she hit the guy. Sorry. That's a good shoot. Let's see. This guy says, Cameron says, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't the article 6 say that the Constitution of federal law is the law of well, it is the supremacy clause in the Constitution. Yeah, so federal laws supersede local ones. Okay. It's on video. Shut up. Yeah, sorry, buddy. Did I talk over it? I apologize. When you harass people, what do you expect? Well, you don't expect to get killed. But when you drive your car at someone and they've just told you to get out of the vehicle, what they think you're doing is you're going to commit a felony, which she did, by the way. Nobody wanted to see her die. They need to stop. No, exactly. Absolutely, Frank. Thank you very much for that. I believe that. Cameron says, see the 10th Amendment. Yeah, I do, but still the supremacy clause trumps the 10th Amendment, dude. That's what happens. It's true. What law makes it illegal to harass the government? Well, what are you talking about? They can harass. They cannot threaten or incite. That's against the law. And it is an anti-First Amendment thing. That is not First Amendment protected, by the way. And very clearly it's protected by the First Amendment. Incitement to violence is not. When you are in a mob situation, which is what this was, you cannot incite people to violence because that's an immediate threat to an officer. And that's not exactly what happened here. She actually literally drove her car into him. So let's see. Frank writes back again. Quit being ignorant. She instigated for hours and used her car as a weapon. She got she had been. Oh, by the way, and that was another thing, Jacob Fry was on all the Sunday shows. He's the Minneapolis mayor, and he's just a pathetic human being. I mean, in terms of his inability to just stand up for what's right. He's just a total failure. Just a feeling, I feel this is the way it is, and I feel like this is mean. Yeah, well, what does the doggone law say, buddy? Yeah, so anyway. Quit being ignorant. Oh, I already read that one. Yeah, let's see. Well, wow, thanks. I didn't know Mr. Smarty Pants. I don't know what you're saying thanks to, but yeah, sure. I agree with you, Raymond. I'm just saying nobody else really wanted to see her die. Yeah, now they're talking to each other in the chat, which is fine. Okay, most important question of the day is I wonder if the stench everyone talks about when standing next to Dingleberry Donnie is related to his dirty diaper or his large oozing. Oh, yeah, you're funny. Oh, God, you guys are so afflicted with TDS. God bless you. I hope you get over it. I really, really do. Oh, now we got the, okay. Thank you, Ice. Yeah, a lot of people are, Ice is Hitler. They're literally Hitler. Well, so dumb. Thank you, Ice. Thank you, Ice. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Thank you, Ice. Thank you, Mr. Trump. A lot of people are doing that because they saw these guys in the chat probably. Let's see. America is a white country. Stop it. I know who did that. One of those people. One of those haters. Okay, buddy. Keep talking on somebody else's thread. America is for Americans. ICE is legal. Illegals get out. Well, I mean, that's one way to put it. I've seen, what do you mean the other angle of George Floyd? I've seen all the angles of George Floyd. And there was not one moment where they thought that one still shot that they said, his knee was on his neck. His knee was not on his neck in that one moment. So yeah, that was a put up job. That's what that was. Let's see. So what happens if these protesters are on camera? Do they get arrested or will they just not face any consequences? Oh, I put my money on the latter. Chauvin didn't kneel his back on his neck for 10 minutes. Don't believe your eyes, nor the autopsy, which stated had Floyd and fentanyl in his system. The cause was literally, no, that's not true. That is not true, my friend. I'm so sorry. Get yourself educated on it. I just saw them setting our American flag on fire in another channel. It's live. Okay, well, there you go. Let's see. What do we have here? I think Trump let her off. Do you really think that he is that forgiving? He said that literally. He literally said, I'm not going to go after her, the wife of a former president. I'm just not. And I bet you he regrets that to this day. Voters should remember this when it comes to the midterms. Okay, sure. How was she coming after him if he was literally directly to her? No, he wasn't. He was right in front of her vehicle. Look at the video. We went through the video in the last live stream. The last two shots said, you know what? He's falling. That's what's happening, or falling back. That's what's happening. Getting out of the way. And he's stopping the threat. He has every right to stop the threat, by the way. He has every right to stop the threat. Now, the other thing is this sad sack. Here's Bob Day. He is the Portland police chief.
Do have some nexus
Please watch him cry.
to involvement with TDA. We can confirm that, and what I can say is there is an association with the two folks yesterday and TDA.
Okay, the Tren de Agua gang is a cartel. They were let into the country en masse by Joe Biden after Maduro said, hey, go, we're going to let you guys out. We want you to just go to America. And Trump says this a lot. I don't think people believe him, but I know he knows what he's talking about in this particular case, in that they emptied the prisons, they emptied the loony bins, and they sent them to America. You don't believe that because you weren't around like I was, because I am the adult in the room. Been around a while. And the fact of the matter is, Cuba did this in the Mariel boat lift. They sent all the crazies to Miami. That's what they did, or to Florida. And so here's Bob Day, and he's the guy who will not do anything about Antifa. Very little. He's also, he was also very angry that ICE had shot at and hit two people. And they were people that ICE wanted to get a hold of and arrest and kick out of the country. They wanted to deport them. Why? Because they were running a human trafficking scam in Portland and overseen by Tren de Agua, which is already a domestic terrorist or a terrorist organization, foreign terrorist organization, so designated. Are you going to tell me that ICE doesn't have a chance or the right to get these people out? Because you're taking crazy pills then. If you really think that, no way. They have every right to do it. Here he is, the Portland police chief, talking to the media saying, well, yeah, they were TDA. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he starts crying. I'm going to start over.
Some nexus to involvement with TDA. We can confirm that, and what I can say is there is an association with the two folks yesterday and TDA. I hesitated to even share this information initially because I'm very aware of the historic injustice of victim blaming, oftentimes portrayed by law enforcement, including this very agency that I've represented so proudly for so many years. And historically, we have not been quick to disclose the potential criminal history of others. I want to speak for just a moment specifically to my Latino community. It saddens me that we even have to qualify these remarks, because I understand, or at least have attempted to understand through your voices, your concern, your fear, your anger. This information in no way is meant to disparage or to condone or support or agree with any of the actions that occurred yesterday.
He's crying because they tried to ram the ICE agents or the Border Patrol agents in this case with the car because they didn't want to be arrested because they knew they'd get deported. And they were running a human trafficking operation of prostitution. And yeah, right? Give him an Oscar. That's right. Exactly right. And the Oscar goes to the big baby. Yeah. It's embarrassing. Well, but Portland wants this kind of person in charge. He doesn't go after Antifa. Generally speaking, he says that he's giving them space. He's giving them space so that they can keep people up all night and they can explode munitions, and they can impede ICE officers from going on their operations. He says that's all free speech. That is so wrong. I mean, it's embarrassing that a person who has a legal background, which I presume a police chief does because he and she have to know what they're talking about, does not realize that there are other ordinances that come into play here with respect to First Amendment. Time, place, and manner ordinances, by the way. How about that? Time, place, and manner. You can say, you know what, Antifa, hey, love you, mean it. I want you to go somewhere else and do that. And you can do so between this hour and this hour. And as a result of a lawsuit and a trial in Portland, the people in that low-income housing project that is right there by the ICE headquarters could not prevail because Bob Day, that dude, and the city of Portland backed Antifa. They did not want to enforce the city's own noise ordinances. That's right. That's how come all those people got no sleep for and still don't get sleep, because Antifa's out there blowing up stuff, yelling. Yeah, and now you've got all the right out there too, and they've got their bullhorns, their electronic bullhorn. Man, oh man. Okay, now we've got a fight in the calf having to do with people. Have you ever been to jail? You know, I have actually, just apropos of nothing. Apologies. Apropos of nothing, I have spoken with people who've been in jail before. And it's kind of interesting because when I helped with people who were homeless, because a lot of people end up in jail. And that's actually, for some people, that's the best place to go because they're forced to get dried out. Okay. And so good for them, right on. But a lot of them have these interesting food hacks. For example, we would go and we would cook for people at a transitional housing center, and we'd chit chat with them all night. But this one guy, he'd just gotten out of jail, and he just wanted to have Cheetos, hot sauce, and noodles, like a noodle bowl, and he mixed them all together. That's what he wanted. I mean, like, we're making like legit nice food, and that's what he wanted. And I go, okay, I got to ask, dude, what's going on? He goes, well, I just like this. I'm used to it. I mean, I found this in jail. This was one of the hacks that they told us, and so that's why I do it. I'm making you really good food. I went to the store. I bought this stuff for you. Michael, yay! Somebody else not fighting with the calf. I'm a black man from Detroit. I remember when the Middle Eastern people came to Detroit. 981 stores. Disrespectful. Yeah, nothing like flood in the zone, huh? That's exactly what they did. And by the way, some of those, irrespective of what the United States wanted, but the president could have said, oh, hell no. The president didn't do that. The United Nations made the decision to place some of these people in different places. Oh, and we have to create a community for them, which means, of course, that they don't learn to get along with other people, and they don't, at least, know cultural codes and that sort of thing in this country. And as a result, they did not get together with the outside world. They still speak Somali and other languages and that sort of thing. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. One more thing I wanted to show you happening on the streets of Portland. Here we go. It's the Knights who go nyeh. Here we go.
Hey, you do like that, Sammy? You do like the light? What's your point? I don't like Nazis either, sorry.
They, them? Are you a they, them? Turn your helmet around. Why would I turn my helmet around?
Take off your female panties.
Turn
Get
your
panties
mask
out
around.
of a bunch.
See how stupid that sounds?
Yes,
Turn
we
your mask
see how
around.
stupid it sounds.
Why does that make sense? Because it's funny.
It's not, though. Nobody's laughing.
I will continue to let this play. I just want you to know This is what passes for intelligent conversation between the two sides outside the ICE facility in Portland.
Joke.
You probably jerk off to anime.
That's why.
So do you have an idea? You don't.
That's projection, man.
Do you have an idea? I'm waiting for an idea. So you don't? Okay, cool. You're not saying anything, dude.
Fucking Taft, turn your helmet around.
Turn your mask around.
What do you want me to do?
Okay, they keep doing that, and I'm sure it gets, because I've heard this, and it's like a lot of potty talk in there. And I just want to give Aaron, I'm sorry, did I say Aaron? I meant Alex. Aaron's somebody else. I just want to give Alex the ability to easily edit it so that people who don't own Kevlar earmuffs can also listen to this. But I got to give the guy credit with his knight in shining armor moment there. Yeah, it's better than the Teletubby thing. Are they still doing the Teletubby? I think I'm going to see if Honey Badger Mom will come back on with me and see if they've got the Teletubbies out there again. Or I may have to go myself. I may have to travel. I may have to travel to Portland just to see what's going on. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Getting in. You need to go to prison to get your criminal law degree now. Okay, we are leaving. I just want to leave you with one thing, though, and it's this.
Some nexus to involvement with TDA. We can confirm
Bob
that.
Day,
And what
crying.
I can say is there is an association with the two folks yesterday and TDA.
Yeah.
I hesitated to even share this information initially.
It's public information.
I'm very aware of the historic injustice of victim blaming, oftentimes portrayed by law enforcement, including.
He just called two criminals in a cartel victims. Note that.
In this very agency that I've represented so proudly for so many years. And historically, we have not been quick to disclose the potential criminal history of others. I want to speak for just a moment specifically to my Latino community.
And now he's going to, oh.
It saddens me that we even have to qualify these remarks. Because I understand, or at least have attempted to understand through your voices, your concern, your fear, your anger. This information in no way is meant to disparage or to condone or support or agree with any of the actions that occurred yesterday. They do have...
Did you know that he was a DEI consultant before he got the gig in Portland? He was working at the city of Portland. Wow. And you know what? He's crying over Trenda gangsters, calling them victims. Yeah, they got shot. Who was the victim again? Was it the people they were trying to run over, or was it? Doesn't matter. If they're a minority, they must be a victim. So in the rock, paper, scissors hierarchy, Trenda gangsters cover ICE in Bob Day's world. Okay, I'll see you back here on Thursday. I've got a really good show for you. And yeah, take care. Have a great week. See you Thursday. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.